Alright, now I'm going to talk about spheres and their cast shadows. So, starting with a sphere, if light is coming straight down, let's say, and it's all these are parallel, then you're going to get a cast shadow that is going to be the width of the widest part of this sphere, right? So it's going to be that wide, and then usually I just, depending on my perspective, I sort of just guess at how, at what the degree of that ellipse is. And then that's my cast shadow for that. Now if you have a light that is not coming all down with the light rays parallel, maybe your light is bigger. So let's say you have a huge overhead light, or this is also the case in like the sky. When you have cloud cover and you have the sky, often light bounces off the clouds, and it's a big light source. And so what happens in that case is, because light is coming from many angles, not just straight down, it fills in some of this area. So you don't get as large of a cast shadow, you get a smaller cast shadow if there's a larger light. And then it's the opposite if there's a small light. So if I have a small light and it's a directional light, light's coming out in from one point, then see the light would travel like this, and then it hits this point, and then it travels there. So then the cast shadow would be larger. So then you'd get a cast shadow like that. Alright? So, feel kind of bad because this stuff is pretty dull and boring, and I know there's probably a lot of people who are wondering, when are we going to get to skin, or when are we going to get to you know, lighting faces and things, and color and all that. And it's coming. It's just, I need to cover these things so I can cover, like for instance, if I talk about skin and I say, well, pay attention to this because it's an occlusion shadow, and you don't know what an occlusion shadow is, well then that doesn't help you, right? So I got to cover all this stuff, and just bear with it. Hopefully it's not too boring, but anyway, the good stuff will come in time. So this is just cast shadows. And another thing is, usually in a case where you do have cloud cover and you have light coming from many angles, the cast shadow will be very fuzzy. Whereas if you have hard light, like artificial light, you know, direct sunlight, then you get a much sharper edge to that cast shadow. So that's also important. And one more thing is, because this light's coming straight down, let's say it was coming at an angle, you'd get a cast shadow that changes depending on the angle of the light. But something cool, and I didn't cover this with that pole, remember when I did the pole, and then there's a light. What you can do is, because you know the end of this shadow is the same as the top of this, you can actually, if you just see the shadow and you don't see the light source, you can connect this to this, and that will point to where the light source is. Same with a sphere, right? If I have a cast shadow and it looks something like this, then what it tells me is that, well, this part is like probably this part, so I just connect those two and it points to where the light is. So that's going to let me know where my light is coming from.